PhD student at the University of Cape Town in South Africa, under the academic direction of or supervision of Professor John Paul van Belle. And my research, before I dive into my research, I hope everyone is doing well in these uncertain times. And maybe to speak more about myself, I am a full-time employee of Strathmore University here in Kenya. I am a mother of one 1.5-year-old boy, and a wife to just one man. Yes, and I am very much excited to be part of this conference. And I will present about my paper on enablers of and barriers to digital innovation success, which was a systematic literature review over a period of 10 years. So the outline of my presentation, I'll begin with a few definitions and an introduction and a background to my research, the gap that this particular paper sought to address, and also I'll touch on the gap that my PhD research is all about, because this paper is a part of my PhD research. The methodology I employed, again, which is systematic literature review, and then the results for this paper, I'll briefly touch on them and summarize the discussion, and also speak about the implications for practice, the research agendas, and then conclude there. So please stop me if you lose me and you don't hear my audio, because again, my internet is not that perfect. So I'll begin, of course, with defining digital innovation. And there are two definitions here of digital innovations. And one speaks more about the process. That is by you et al. I will avoid mentioning their names so that I don't butcher them. But yes, you et al. Speaks more of digital innovation as a process. And therefore, they define it as the application of digital technology to improve an existing or develop a new service, and that service is embedded with software-based capabilities, therefore the IS component there. And then Fitchman et al. Defines it as a product, a process, or a business model that is seen to be new, and it requires a lot of change on the side of the adopters. And also, again, it is enabled by digital technology. And then there's another term that I found in the literature reviewed that was being used interchangeably to mean digital innovation, and that is digital entrepreneurship. And that author defines it as the economic exploitation of digital innovation. And then Elia et al. Define it as the convergence of entrepreneurship and again with digital technology. So digital technology is seen to play a big role here. And early on, even before I could identify what enables or hinders digital innovation success, digital technology is seen as a key enabler if it is accessible, and a barrier if it is not. And there are many other factors that would affect the outcome of success or failure. And then also, it is important for me also to define what I mean by digital innovation success. And therefore, I agreed with these two authors. And one says digital innovation success is the progression of a digital innovation. And Heroes or Hyros defines it as successful commercialization and business development. And therefore, the two earlier definitions that I'd mentioned of digital innovation come to play here, where one is being defined as the success of the process, and the other one, the economic or the digital entrepreneurship aspect. So introduction to and background to this paper work. We are in a post-pandemic world, we can say that, and we've seen that digital economies are rising, and this can be maybe attributed to the fact that generally the global economy is experiencing digital transformation, and which is giving rise to these digital economies. Tapscott says that digital economies are heavily reliant on digital technologies. And this, for the processes of digital economies to occur in this digital environment, of course, digital innovations are seen to play a big role to enable people to share and create, and also to be able to communicate and to be able to generate wealth online, and also to enable social development. And therefore, now more than ever, it is very, very much important to understand then what enables and what hinders digital innovation success process. Also, digital startups in the last decade have been seen to play a very important role in digital innovation processes and the development of digital innovations. And therefore, this research or this paper sought to understand what enables or hinders digital innovation success. And the digital innovation that we're talking about here is that one that is driven by digital startups and not innovation that is led by large firms' R&D activities. Again, I think it is important to maybe bring you back to how this paper came about. It is part of my PhD research, which tries to particularize the enablers of and barriers to digital innovation success in the global South, specifically the Kenyan context. And these are the research questions that I am seeking to respond to through my research. Then again, that's still part of my PhD research, which is hypothesizing that digital innovation success is dependent on unique conditions evident in a particular context. And the reason why I did a systematic literature review was to confirm whether this is true or wrong. And from the results that I got, which is what I'm presenting in this paper, the global North context was seen to be very much dominant in the studies that were reviewed. And therefore, there's this notion that that came out that the success of digital innovations in the global South is almost all the time explained based on Silicon Valley narrative and also other Western theories. And therefore, my study hypothesizes that this could bring on board a contextual fit challenge. Therefore, there's need to maybe do more research to confirm or deny that indeed there are unique factors within the Kenyan digital innovation ecosystem that influence innovation success or bar innovation success within the various digital innovation environments that are present in Kenya. And that is incubation and non-incubated digital innovation environments. So the gap that the paper wanted to address, of course, as I was doing research early on my topic, I could not find a single source or a coherent account of what enables specifically digital innovation success. Of course, there's a lot of literature on generally innovation and what enables or hinders innovation, but that part of digital innovation success that arises from digital startups, I was not able to find contextualized study that would be able to explain the success that we find in countries such as Kenya with digital innovations such as M-Pesa, etc. And then current research is also seen to focus more on innovations that emerge in large firms other than digital startups. And again, what I mentioned earlier, that digital economies are growing, and therefore now more than ever, it is very key to be able to isolate what enables digital innovation success, because these digital innovations are seen to drive the growth of digital economies. And this information would be very important, especially in the global South. So the methodology I used was systematic literature review, which allowed me basically to analyze literature that was talking about digital innovation success. And this was not an easy thing. And then also I combined it with thematic analysis to be able to, again, isolate specific themes and consolidate everything into specific categories, which I'll talk about later. Again, I speak on the steps that I used in the systematic literature review, which were adopted from Brown et al., who happens to be one of my professors at the University of Cape Town, South Africa. And therefore, I followed these 3 steps, planning stage, of course, which involves decisions on which data sources to search for literature from. And my focus was on Google Scholar and Web of Science, and also putting together the search query, deciding which symbols to use to ensure that everything is included, and also deciding on whether to search for just enablers alone, barriers alone, and also together, again, to ensure that I do not miss out on anything because, again, of the heterogeneity and fragmentation in literature concerning this area of study. And then selection, of course, involved selecting papers for me to get a good number that was fully addressing the area that I'm studying on. And I did that by title, topic, abstract, and of course, full paper reviews at the end. And then extraction and execution, where thematic analysis was heavily employed for me to be able to isolate the 49 themes, which were further grouped into 10 unique thematic areas, which I will also discuss. So in general, this is the whole process of systematic literature review. And I've just shown a select number of journals that were reviewed and conferences, and then keywords that were employed, the search databases where the literature was searched, and the time span, and that led to 421 articles. Again, on further selection and also applying the inclusion and exclusion criteria, which I'll mention next, I was able to come up with 38 articles that were seen to have a rigor and also are seen to address the key research question that I was asking. And therefore, this
Lorna,
was
it is 3 minutes left.
Okay. So let me talk about the results. So 49 sub-themes were unearthed, and they were grouped into 10 major groupings. So digital technology, incubators and accelerators, education and training, capital networks, business model, leadership, open innovation and government and culture were seen to be key influencing factors that could either act as an enabler or a barrier, dependent on many things. I was hoping to go through each one, but again, I'm sure you know how digital technology can play as an enabler, and how also technology or innovation hubs were seen as enablers because they were providing an enabling environment where digital startups could thrive, and they could be able to develop successful digital innovations. But also, if this support was not given in the right way, then also failure could also emerge. And also universities and research, there was a paper that was talking about of digital innovations that were close to universities were seen to, the rate of success was seen to be high, and also financial capital, which was seen as a very important source of an enabler, and venture capitalist and crowdfunding were some of the terms that were very prominent in the research. Intellectual capital was also seen as, which is an emerging area of research in entrepreneurship, was also seen to be very important. And this talks about the skills, the personal skills or interpersonal skills of the innovators. And then networks, of course, family networks, business networks, reputational networks, co-reputational networks were seen to influence. Business model innovation was seen to be very important, especially for digital startups because of the volatility and unpredictable nature of technology. And then leadership, transformational leadership or hands-on leadership was seen to enable, and other types was seen to hinder. And then open innovation and hackathons were seen again to be an enabler because they would enable these digital innovators to have access to knowledge and resources that they would not have accessed previously. And also they were seen to hinder, especially where post-hackathon support was lacking. Government, a very important enabler, and also can be a barrier where their support or policies are not supportive, or the ease of doing business was not supportive. Culture, and this is organizational culture and also national culture, was also seen to be either an enabler or a barrier. And in conclusion, 49 factors, which were drilled down into 10 major themes and implications for practice, is that information can be used to develop a guiding framework that can influence policy, and also that information can be useful to digital startups. So 2 research agendas, which is my last slide, emerged. The need for contextualized research, which is the focus of my study, and also the need to study the linkages between the influencing factors, either together or in isolation. And therefore, a word that came out was triple helix model, a study that would address how this model would affect the process, or digital innovation process success could be very important to the information systems community. So thank you for listening to me. These are my contacts. You can reach me on this email or also this other email. Thank you for your audience, and thank you to Conf-IRM for the opportunity to share my research with a global audience. I'll take questions.